In this part of our course, we're going to be making the gallery page. So I'm just going to scroll down so we can just take a look at all the elements in this page. So we have 3 different sections and the footer section. So that's pretty much it. And we can just take a moment to look at the actual frame in the design tab. All right, let's get started. So I've already gone ahead and added in the images we're going to use for this particular page. You can go ahead and do that. First thing we're going to do is come over here, and I'm going to copy the header section image as well as the text. So I'm just going to come back here, select all of this, and I'm going to delete. Select the frame, and I'm going to paste. Now I'm going to select this image. The width is 1440, and the width, well, technically it's the height because we rotated this image, but let's just think about this way: width 1440, height 350, and that's what we're going to do. This one we don't need to rotate. I'm going to change the width to 1440, and height we're just going to crop it. So double click and then reduce till you have 350, and I'm going to zoom out. Let me move this picture up. I'm holding shift while I do this so that I don't move the image around. I'm just going to close that dialog. Next, I'm going to select this image, cut, come over to this, and then replace it using Ctrl Shift and R. Let's change the text on this. So we're going to change this to gallery. Mind you, this is an uppercase letter and these are lowercase. Cinzel does everything in uppercase, but there's actually a difference between lowercase and uppercase. And I'm just going to realign it to the center. Now I'm going to select this text. Let's go over to typography, and we're going to change it to restaurant desktop body. I'm going to delete this button since we're not going to use it. Let me just grab my text. So just under here, I'm going to copy this text and I'm going to paste it here. Now I'm just going to highlight this first line, Ctrl I to italize the text, and I'm going to make sure that this text is on a total of 8 columns. So just exclude the first and last 2 columns and have your text there. We can just leave it here for now. When we are coming from top to bottom, we're going to move things around. Next, let me just zoom out. I'm going to ungroup this using Ctrl and backspace. Let me start with this. Maybe I should just move this so that I just want to make sure that everything on this side is aligned to the left side or the edge of this first column. So let's start with this. I'm just going to bring this up a bit because we're going to have just a very small introductory text here. Select this text and we're going to change this to restaurant desktop subheading, and I'm going to grab the subheading for this section and I'm going to paste this. Let's change the resizing under layout to auto width. Next, let me just grab a copy of this text instead of creating a new one. I'm just going to bring this up here, and then I'm going to copy this text and paste. Once again, let's make the resizing auto width. Select the entire text box and go over to typography and change it to the restaurant desktop body text. Now let's now insert our images. So the images, the first one is going to occupy 5 columns like it is here, and the second one is going to occupy 7 columns. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that this one is aligned to the first 5 columns so I can determine the width, and this I want to align it to the number to the 7 columns so I can find out the width and then use it. The height is I'm going to delete this too, since we can just reuse this one. I'm going to need a bit more space because I can tell that those ones on top, they're going to be a bit longer. So the width for this is going to be 486. This one is 690, but the height for both of them is going to be 450. So instead of modifying these, I can just go and modify the actual images themselves. So I'm going to come over here, select this image and this one. Okay, let me just start with this. Let's change the width. What was it? 486. So I'm going to select this one, change it to 486, and then I'm going to double click and then reduce the height to 450, and I'm going to zoom out, and then I'm just going to hold shift down so I don't move the image. I'm going to just drag it up till we have this, and I'm just going to close, and then I can come back here, cut this image, and then replace it using Ctrl Shift and R. This one, the width is 690, so I'm going to change the width to 690, and then we're going to crop it to get the appropriate height. Double click, and I'm going to reduce it to 450. A bit more. Alright, now I'm just going to move it till I'm satisfied with the part of the image I want. I'm just going to hold shift so it doesn't move out of the frame, and I'm just going to bring this, and then I'm going to close that. Once again, cut the image, and then Ctrl Shift and R to replace. With these two text, I can just move both of them a bit closer. Let me just make sure this one is on this edge, and then it's also on 5 columns to match the image, and this one also I'm going to have it here. So I can just select these two, go over to typography, and we are going to use the restaurant desktop body text. Let's go back to our notes, and this is the description for the first one. I'm going to copy it and then paste. I'm going to highlight this section, Ctrl B to make that bold. Let's go back to our notes. I'm going to grab the text for the second one, and then I'm going to paste. Let me increase the width. This one has more space, right, to match the width of the image also. And I'm going to highlight this section, make it bold using Ctrl and B. Let's now work on this image. This, I believe, should be 1200. So if you count the width for all the columns, it should be 1200. I'm just going to reduce it so you see it. So if it goes across all columns, it should be 1200. And the height for this one is supposed to be 375. So I'm not going to modify this one. I'm just going to modify the actual image. So the width, I'm going to change to 1200. And I'm going to double click the image and reduce the height to 375. And I'm going to now just move the image to where I'm comfortable. Let me just move it. Yeah, that looks good. I'm just going to close that. Now I'm going to select this image, cut, and I'm going to replace it here. Now select this text, Okay, I'm just making sure it's on the edge of that layout, that column on the left. And I'm going to change the typography to body text, restaurant desktop body. And I'm going to copy this. And then I'm going to paste. I'm going to change the resizing of the text to auto width. Now I'm just going to select this section of text and make it bold. Now we're going to just make one giant group instead of separating it. I'm just going to I know I said I'm using the distance between text and the subheadings or headings and content as 25. However, I changed it, and that's something you'll notice. Sometimes I'll say, okay, I'm using this as a standard, and then I'll change it. A lot of time go, yes, I'm following a certain like guideline, or I'm following a certain rule for myself, but every once in a while, as I'm designing it, I'll go by how I feel. So if I feel like, oh, using 25 is too much space, I'm going to change it. So if you see me saying, oh, I want to use this, and you see that you happen to see later in the video I changed it, is because a lot of time I'm not a perfectionist, but if I'm designing and to me I look at it and it doesn't look right, I'll randomly change things around. So for this entire thing, it's all going to be 20. Spacing is going to be 20 for all of this. So once again, I'm just mentioning in case you've noticed that I said one thing and then I'm doing one thing. I tend to go with what looks good to me anyway. So I'm just going to select everything on this right side. We're not selecting anything here. We're going to do that. I'm just going to go to spacing, make it 20 for all of this here. So for this one, we can just easily align this to that image and also align this text to this text as well. So let's keep things simple. I'm just going to select everything and then group. Maybe we could take a moment to look at it in the prototype view. So I'm just going to give this a moment. So we have gallery. Maybe we should give the image a moment. It's not loading. Okay, finally loaded. And then we have the restaurant ambience. So this is what I was talking about. You can see that this is, if I had used 25, to me it looked like when I used 25 it was way too much. Even now it looks like too much, and the funny thing is when I reduce it, it looks like too little. So for me, this is like a sweet spot for me. So that's why I use 20 here, and in between the text and images, 20 just looked better. So that's it for this section. We are now going to duplicate this and reuse it for the other two sections. I'm going to zoom out and create a second copy. Let me just increase the height of this frame, and I'm going to create another one. I'm going to reuse this for the other sections. Okay, next one is behind the scenes. I'm going to paste, and I'm going to grab this very little text here and paste. Next up is this image. So I know the height is 450 for both, width for the first one is 486. So that's what I'm going to do. You know what, I want to switch things up here. So I want the longer, like the wider image on this side for this particular one, and I want this other one. So the text really doesn't matter. We're going to switch the text. So what I'm going to do is select these two and then hold shift down and just do like this, and you've swapped their places. So I'm going to, this was 690 by 450. I can just select both of them and change both their heights to 450, and then we can crop it to get the width. So let me bring this one out. I'm going to double click, and the width is 690. That's what I'm just going to, let me get closer so I can see what I'm doing. If you're wondering how I know, I'm looking at the layout and the dimensions here. So maybe using this will be much easier, but I'm just going to increase this, and I'm going to bring this up a bit. Let me see. Let me hold shift. I'm holding shift down. I just want to zoom in even more like this, so we can have just this. So we have this really cropped in image. Okay, that looks good. I'm just going to cut. It would seem that I unintentionally moved this. No worries. I'm just going to, I didn't swap the text. I didn't care about the content, but we can do the same for text. I'm just going to swap their places. I'm going to select this one, Control Shift and R to replace. Next up is this one. I'm going to, I've already changed the height. Next up is the width. The width is 486. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reduce this to 486, and I'm just going to leave it like this. Next, I'm just going to cut, and then I'm going to replace. Let's now grab the text, and I'm going to paste here. Let me change the resizing of that text to auto width, and this, I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste. And for me, it has made everything bold. So what I'm going to do, if yours is fine, no worries, I'm just going to do Control B on the rest of the text, and it's going to remove bold for those. Okay, I'm just going to do the same for this. Let's now do this one before we so this is 1200 by 375. I'm going to change the width of this to 1200, and I'm going to crop this to 375. And I'm going to just move this image. Let's say to something like this. I'm going to close that, cut, and then replace, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm also going to paste. Let's select this and remove the bold. Now this, I'm just going to move this to up till I have a spacing of 20, because the texts are now shorter, so just 3 more. So now I have 20 spacing of 20 between all of them. Okay, so let's see what this section looks like. I'll just give this a moment, and we have our second set of images, which is behind the scenes. For this third section, we're going to do what we did in this one. So I'm just going to select these two, swap their places, select these two till I see this red circle, and then I'm going to swap their places. and the width for this 690. So width is 690 and height is supposed to be 450, right? 450. Okay, height is supposed to be 450. So I'm just going to reduce this to 450 and I can just cut this. I haven't even changed any text, I just went straight into the images. Let me change the text so I don't forget. Memorable moments, I'm going to paste that. Let's grab the text and I'm going to paste. Okay, so we can continue now. The width for this image is 486. So I'll just change the width to 486 and height is 450. I'm going to zoom in and increase the height to 450 and I'm going to hold shift down and then increase the width. Let me just maybe move this. Oh, could have just left it like that. I'll just leave it like this. I'm going to cut this image and then I'm going to replace it. Let's now grab the text for the first one. I'm going to copy this, paste. Once again we have the same issue. I'm going to make this not bold and I'm going to grab the text for this one and paste, and I'm going to Ctrl B to remove the bold. Next up is this image. Width is 1200 and height is 375. So I'm just going to crop that to 375 and I'm just going to move this just a little bit, close that. Now I'm going to cut the image and then replace, and of course finally we have our text. I'm going to paste and we're just going to select the rest of the text and remove the bold on it. Now remember we need to, so the spacing currently is 54. I'm just going to hold this, I'm holding shift while I do this and it's going to reduce to 20, and then I'm going to hold shift and also reduce this to 20. We could say, I wanted to say let's look at it, but really there's no need. Let's just change the footer section and then maybe we can look at it. So I'm going to copy it from any of these pages that we've completed and then we can replace. Let's change the colors and spacing and then we'll look at it in the prototype view. So this we already know is going to be the appropriate colors. If you want, you can go ahead, you know what, let's just do that. Let's start with the entire thing, change the fill to the background color, and where it's black, because we've been using black for the text, if you're using a different color, just select whatever color you use for your text and then change it to the text color. And while my layout is selected, my frame is selected, I can see that we're using all the appropriate color styles. So that's it. So select this image. Let's now space things out. Spacing for this is 60, right? Sorry, let me just confirm 60. Okay, it's supposed to be 60, and I'm just going to zoom out, select all of this, and then spacing is going to be 200, and I'm going to need a bit more space for this. Okay, that's it. So now let's look at our design in the prototype view. So we've seen this. Let's go to the top so we can also see the spacing. So this is the spacing, and this is the entire gallery page. It just has a very simple layout, nothing much to it. And yeah, that's it for the gallery web page. Well, even though I'm technically done with this page, I just forgot, I realized I forgot something. So I'm just going to create a little space here, and I'm going to insert, so I forgot this little part here. So I'm going to copy this text, and I'm going to insert a text here, and it's currently set to restaurant desktop body, so that's what we're going to use. I'm going to bring this closer like this, and I want it to be on 2 lines. So let me see, ember and oak just here. And then I'm going to need some buttons, so I'm going to borrow one from one of our pages. I could just use this, so I'm going to copy this too because we need 3 buttons here, and I'm going to paste and bring this here. Let me just select this, and I'm going to create a copy and have a third one. So this second one is going to be contact us, and it's already in an auto layout. I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to select this one. So the auto layout is 20, the spacing is 20 in between each button. Select this one, and I'm going to also make it an auto layout as well. Now select this and this, the spacing is going to be 20, and select this, and the footer section spacing is going to be 200, and I'm going to reduce the height of the frame so that it fits just under our footer section. So I just need to change the color of the text to text color, and you can never check too many times just to make sure. Yeah, and promise I haven't forgotten anything this time. Yeah, that's it for the gallery page.